Hi, I'm John Devo from Wex Photographic, and I'm here with the camera that everybody is going to be talking about from here until pretty much forever. The new Canon 1DX Mark II with Dave Parry and Frank Jim. So Dave, tell me about the camera.
So yes, this is a replacement for the 1DX and the 1DC, so it's replacing those two cameras. And when I come through the specification, you'll see why that's happening. So the 1 series has really evolved over the years. It's really changed from what it was, say, 4 or 5 years ago, in that because we've now got things like the 7D Mark II, we've got the 5DS and 5DSR and the 5D Mark III, this has become a real specialist tool. So it's really designed for your sports photographers, your wildlife photographers, and the photojournalists as well. So if we look at the top line specification of this, so now it shoots 14 frames a second. So this is 14 frames a second with autofocus and with auto exposure. It will do 16 frames a second, but that's using live view with the AF locked at the first frame. Now at 14 frames a second, this camera's got dual Digix 6 processors inside it. It's Digix 6 Plus. It's got 2 of those inside there, which means that this camera will do 170 raw files before it starts to slow down. We've worked this out and we think it's about the same length of time that it takes an athlete to do the 100 metres race.
A good athlete.
A good athlete,
not me.
That is. So that is an amazing buffer on there to be able to do those amount of shots before it slows down.
And as I understand it, it's got a new sensor inside it as well.
Yes, so this is a brand new sensor. It's a 20 million pixel sensor, so it's not these big pixel counts. If you want that, we've got the 5DS and 5DSR for the landscape guys and for the real high detail work. This is all about speed, this camera. So it's 20 million pixels. Now,
and what else is new on the camera? You mentioned earlier you were going to get rid of the 1DC.
yeah.
Okay, so why are you going to do that with this camera?
Okay, so this now does 4K. It'll do 4K at 60p. So really high speed 4K. It'll also do HD at 100 frames a second and 120 frames a second as well. And to record this, you need to use CFast cards. So this has one SCF card and one CFast card on here. The data rate is 800 megabits per second. It's a 422, and it's recording at 8-bit. Now, the exciting thing about the 4K is this is a true 4096 4K resolution, so it's 17 by 9, so it's true 4K cinema style.
And does it have any limitations on record time?
Yeah, the recording time, I'm pleased to say, is 29 minutes 59 seconds, so pretty much half an hour it will record at 4K. As you can imagine, the camera will get pretty hot working at these kind of temperatures, and what I think is really interesting, inbuilt into this camera, which you can't see from the outside, is what they're calling a heat pipe, but I'm referring to as an exhaust. And basically it's taking the heat away from the sensor, which is something you have to think about, which is really important with this type of product to make sure that you can get the heat away and get the image quality that you need.
And Frankie, I've noticed that it's quite similar to the 1DX that we've got here. There isn't that many physical changes. And why do you think that, why have you guys managed to keep it the same?
The short answer is the 1DX works, and what we've done really is introduced a number of small changes but really important changes. So particularly for the sports guys, we've introduced a new algorithm, AO Servo 3 Plus, which means in those situations where you've got a particularly erratic moving subject, the tracking system has much more information to go by. The camera actually will detect the gyro in the lens, use that as additional information to increase the hit rate on the camera. With the buffering now being unsurpassed in our previous models, you can basically shoot without waiting ever again for the camera to think and then shoot again. So whether you're a sports photographer or wildlife or a videographer, this camera really does a lot of these functions even better than before.
And what are some of the other key implementations that you guys have introduced with this camera to cater to those sports and wildlife pros?
So there's a couple of interesting changes. So on the My Menu option, you can actually now rename that. So on this camera, you've actually got a sport. One of the My Menus has actually been renamed as sport. So I've just done this just to show you as an example where a sports photographer would potentially use anti-flicker as a regular use function. That's kind of useful if you're shooting in a gymnasium where you've got flickering lights. If you want direct access to the autofocus functions, the tracking sensitivity, and the autofocus point auto switching, again you've got everything close to hand. Another My Menu you could potentially set is one for wildlife, where you have a similar feature set to sport. If you say switch to something like Astro, I've put the LCD brightness there and put it on very, very low, so when you're doing astro, it doesn't kill your night vision. The camera's got lots of more customized ability compared to the 1DX, just to make life a little bit easier. The other one really, which is very, very useful, is the FTP. So now you can have up to 20 different sets on there. So if you're a, say, football photographer, you went to different stadiums, you can basically have those preset and renamed, which is great because basically when you arrive, all your settings are already pre-done, where before you had a limited number. So by preparing the camera beforehand, it means that you're basically good to go.
And tell me about some of the in-camera processing features you guys have introduced.
Sure, yeah. So this is the first camera that's got diffraction correction. So if you're a landscape photographer or tend to use a lot of the smaller apertures, you have a wider range of apertures to use, basically better image quality, and even after the shot you have for the first time an EOS model digital lens optimizer, which basically applies 7 different type of lens aberration corrections, which ultimately means you get better image quality.
Awesome. And are there any other new introductions? I know you said something about a touchscreen. How does that work?
Yeah, so we've implemented touchscreen onto this model, which we've never had before on a 1 series. It only works in live view and it works when you're shooting movies. The idea of this is to work with the touch focus. We've got dual pixel CMOS AF inside here as well, and it covers 80% of the view, 80% of the image capture area. And this, as I said, used with the touchscreen gives you this ability to pull focus really, really nicely.
And can you adjust the speed of that?
Yes, you can. Yeah,
nice.
You can vary the speed to change the sensitivity as well, just so you can get that really nice, smooth pull focus. And nothing you might have noticed on here that they say it looks quite similar to the original 1DX, but we've got a little bump on the top there.
Yep.
So that's the GPS transmitter. So you've got a built-in GPS on this one.
And how does that work?
Well, the GPS is really, really important these days. As a lot of agencies will want the GPS information to be able to auto-tag and auto-caption their images. And it really helps to speed up the editing process. And you can use that to tag your images. You can also use the logger function to track the route that you've taken between 2 points as well. So the GPS is very, very important.
So if I'm a new sports photographer, an aspiring sports photographer, and I want to go pro, what are the features in this camera, and the key, maybe 1 or 2 from each of you guys, that I'm really going to be, what's going to sell this camera to me?
For me, it would really be the frame rate and the fact that you can shoot 170 RAW files. I mean, that's 4 times more RAWs than our predecessor 1DX, which obviously proved extremely popular. I think the handling also, it's very, very natural. 1DX Mark II has been redesigned, so it's comfortable even if you've got small hands as well. LCD panel resolution is now 60% or higher, so it's even easier to check your focusing. And a very, very sophisticated metering system, which all helps with gathering more information, so your autofocus accuracy is the best it can be.
What about you, Dave?
Well, I really like I really want to try out this AI Servo 3 Plus. This is a really interesting adaptation for the camera to take on more information to be able to get the autofocus. So that's really exciting. The second thing for me is the 4K. I mean, I love to see 4K at this kind of level, but to get 60p and to have it shot at like the native resolution as well, you know, the 4096, I think is just incredibly exciting. And the last thing for me, what I love about the 1 series is its durability. I mean, these things are, I don't want to say it, but these things are practically bulletproof in the respect that they are incredibly, incredibly strong cameras. I've been caught in all sorts of situations with these, and they just keep on going. They are a definite tool for doing a job.
One thing that just to interrupt, sorry, but you mentioned the 4K, you can pull 8 megapixel stills from that?
Yeah, with actually 8.8 million
okay.
pixels. With the 4K, you're recording at native resolution, so there's a 1.3 times crop. We record it at the native resolution, so you get the best sharpness from the images that you're getting. But yeah, so you can, and it's motion JPEG, which gives you the ability, as you said, to pull a still from there. Yeah, and that's 8.8.
And you can do that in camera.
And you can do that in camera.
Fantastic.
Just to add to the durability, the shutter is rated for 400,000 cycles. Also, all the controls are as well. There's kind of the misconception that the shutter is just rated for 400,000, but the rest of the components are not. Cameras really be designed for professional use, so though the shutter is replaceable, the rest of the components should last the life of the shutter as well.
Fantastic. Well, that's it from me and the guys at Canon. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below, but in the meantime, subscribe to our channel for more great videos.